Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in the day and age of LED flashlights, it's very hard to determine which one you'd like to buy. Now for me, the criteria is actually pretty simple. To be honest with you, I'm really not terribly concerned with the dollar. I just typically like to spend money on things that I will like. So the dollar amount doesn't matter too much. Now, if it's extremely exorbitant, yeah, I could see what you're saying, and I don't want to really overpay, but most typical LED flashlights are in a reasonable ballpark for the size of the flashlight, lumen output, typical build quality, type of LED, and the actual battery technology. So for the most part, you end up in kind of buckets. There are some that are tipping the scales a little bit more expensive than others, and others that are a little more budget, but for the most part, I feel like they fall in a ballpark range. So with that said, I'm typically looking for the overall features and functions, the modes and how the clickies work and where your mode actuation is, the type of buttons, the overall features, the battery, the type of charging capability. So today we're going to take a look at a couple of LED flashlights. These are by the company Sofirn. Now before I get too far, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at Sofirn who have provided these products for review. And if you're interested in seeing what I'm about to talk about, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at two offerings from Sofirn Light. Here on the left, we have the SF36, and on the right, the SF14. Two completely different lights, distinctly different. They require different batteries, they have different lumen output, and in my opinion, would be used for a slightly different purpose, but two nice offerings from Sofirn Light. Now, one of the things I think is just a little bit funny is that when you look at the box, there is no indication of the actual model number, and that is the case for both of these. It's not a big deal, and it doesn't bother me much. It's just an observation. Now, not that packaging is the biggest deal, but I do think that overall the presentation is quite nice. They do a nice job with the box and overall packaging, and that's something that just leaves a little bit of a first impression. Now, getting into the details, first I'm going to pull out the SF36. Now, keeping in mind that I have been using this flashlight, so this has already been removed from the package. I've carried it for a while, and it is a nice quality flashlight. This is in a size range that for me is something that is very desirable. Now, as we go through the details here, you'll see that you do get the flashlight, a charging cable, a battery charger, a lanyard, just the packaging here, and then your informational pamphlet. And inside the flashlight, this does come with a factory Sofirn battery. This particular flashlight uses an 18650 2800 milliamp hour battery. This is a Sofirn battery, as I mentioned, and so far the performance seems to be overall pretty good. Now, while I have this tail cap removed, I will continue to move forward by removing the head of the flashlight. You can see here that this is fully gasketed. It appears as though the overall length of the threads is slightly different. So if I wanted to reverse this head and put it on the same section as the tail cap, I can thread it on, but it bottoms out before it reaches the O-ring. So you do need to be a little bit careful there. So if you were going to try to reverse the clip, you actually do not have the ability to do that because there is not another section for this to clip on, and you cannot reverse the heads. So that's just something to pay attention to, the fact that this will basically be, if you would call it, tip down for those knife people, or a head down and a tail cap up position, which works just fine for me. I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, that is how I prefer to carry my flashlights, and basically just to protect the head and then that bezel and kind of keep it down inside your pocket. So overall, that's just fine with me. Now, looking through the details, this is pretty standard in the overall features. However, I can say that I very much like it. It is reasonably simplistic, but at the same time, just nicely done. There's nice knurling. It's almost a fine diamond pattern. You have that clip, which is, it's a satin finish, call it, or, like a stainless steel clip, I don't mind it. It doesn't need to be black. Some other companies like a black clip on there. For me, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me too much. In fact, I think it looks pretty good. I generally like the shape of the head. This has a nice reflector, good overall beam pattern, and the ability to throw some light. It is very smooth on the inside. There is no orange peel, so this leads itself to being a little better of a thrower than a floody light. Now, this is a simple tail cap operation, so you'll see a full click operates the light. You do not have a momentary press, which is a little bit of a downfall for me. I very much like a momentary press to illuminate the light. That's just a simple feature where you're not always constantly needing to turn the light all the way on and off. But with the light on, half press does go through the different modes, so you'll see it cycles between each one of them. Low, medium, high, and turbo. Then a quick double press goes into your tactical mode. Single press comes out of it. Full click and it's off. The bezel is nicely shaped. If you really get on it carefully, you can unthread it. So you'll see here that the bezel is removable, and then takes a little bit of work, and I can't easily get the lens out of there. So the lens is nicely placed. There's nothing else that threads off here from what I can tell, but that bezel does come off, and you need to be very careful threading it back on because they are very fine threads. But generally speaking, nicely constructed, good quality aluminum, has a nice feel in the hand. I personally very much enjoy a flashlight of this size. I like how it feels in the hand. I like how it fills it out. Fits perfectly in my pocket. I don't honestly need anything really smaller than this. And in fact, I like an 18650 flashlight. I like the performance. I like something in that 1000 lumen output range where this is just perfect. And I like things that are very simple in their programming. 4 simple programming modes without getting lost in any of those specialty functions like SOS or tactical mode or anything like that. I like those being hidden in a double press. So this, in terms of the overall programming, does work very well for me. Now, getting into the charger, this is very simple, a single battery charger. I did use this to charge the battery. However, I didn't use the cable. I just already had one of these. It's a simple micro USB. But generally speaking, this does have a light. It will be red while it is charging and then green when it is fully charged. Now again, this does also come with a lanyard. I find I don't typically use these. It's nice to have it, and it's certainly something that if you're into it, that would be great. For me, I don't really necessarily need it. I simply carry this in my pocket. Now as we get into the details, this is a low mode of 8 lumens, which to me is an excellent low output. I do not like really light, low volume output, Firefly or Moonlight modes. So for me, something like 8 lumen is a very usable light source. I like something in that 8 lumen range. So for me, that's a big thumbs up. So they consider that 8 lumen output to be the low mode. So 8 lumen low mode, a 50 lumen low mode, 300 lumen medium mode, and 1070 high mode. And that is the same also for the strobe. So I feel like the overall spread of outputs on this flashlight is great, from 8 to 50. 50 to 300, and 300 to 1070. That is perfect. You don't need anything more than that. And for me, you get something that's nice and low, doesn't bother too many people, but gives you ample light to see what you're doing. That actual low mode, which is perfect for general camp tasks, something where you want to walk down a path and you don't really need to illuminate a ton, but you also don't want to completely kill your vision. That 300 medium mode, which is really starting to light things up, and if you wanted to start to kind of look around your surroundings a little further off and really get a good understanding of what you're up against. And then that 1070 mode, where that's just a good quality output for most general tasks in really trying to illuminate things that are either further off in the distance, or you really want to get some good quality light on something, and certainly in that tactical mode where you're really trying to disorient somebody who may be coming after you. So now getting into the SF14. Again, another light that I have carried. I did use this already, so I have removed it from the package, but you will see here, again, nicely packaged, nice presentation. This does not come with the charger, so you would need to have the ability to charge this. Now, the good thing about this flashlight is it can either use a standard AA battery or its lithium equivalent. But getting into the packaging, here you'll see this small little package here has a couple of small accessories. And as I peel this open, it has, again, a lanyard, which is nice if you like that. Another really cool feature that I do like, this has a little clip, so you could potentially use this flashlight as a keychain option. And to me, this is not too large to be a keychain flashlight. I have talked about this size flashlight in the past. I actually think it makes a wonderful keychain application. It is slightly large, but the output and overall ability generally superior to most other keychain flashlights. So if you want just a little bit more oomph, this would be a way to go. And a couple of O-rings. I don't know if any of you have ever used your spare O-rings for your flashlights. I personally have not, but typically you get them, and in this case, that is also the case. So where you have a couple of spare O-rings, that's kind of cool, but something I will probably never use. Now, getting into the details here, you can unthread the head. Removing the battery, here you'll see I am using a Phoenix 14500 800 milliamp hour battery. This does not come with a battery, so I have been using this lithium ion 14500. I just happen to have it from using it in the past, and it's been working quite well with the Sofirn light. And additionally, removing the tail cap here, as I pull this off, you will see that the only way to reverse this clip is to swap the body around. As I'm going through this, these threads feel slightly different. In fact, they are different. If you look, you cannot reverse this. These are completely different. So that's a little bit of a bummer, actually. I thought this was going to be reversible, and when you look up really close, there is no way to reverse the clip. And I very much enjoy a light of this size to potentially clip onto something, say for example like the brim of a hat. So unfortunately, this is a clip that is not reversible, and to me, getting into it now, that's just a little bit of a downfall. But overall, when you look at the build quality of this flashlight, it is quite nice. As you get into the details on the head of the flashlight, you'll notice that the lens is an orange peel design, so it's going to be a little bit more of a floody light than a thrower. And the overall quality of the aluminum is quite nice. They do a nice job with their overall machining. No real burrs or anything like that. Nice fit and finish overall, and a good overall looking piece. Again, with that satin finish on the stainless steel, you do not end up with sort of a blacked out look, but not a big deal in my opinion. Similar to the SF36, you'll notice that as you half press through the modes, you do get your different lumen outputs, but there is no momentary press, so again, just a little bit of a downfall. And in this case, you have a low, medium, and high mode. Low, medium, and high. Double press does nothing. There is no tactical or specialty mode. Now, when we get into the details, there is a difference between the 14500 and your typical AA battery. When you have the 14500 mode, which I will talk about, the low mode is 5 lumen, medium mode is 110 lumen, and your high mode is a 600 lumen output. Now again, for me, that is a wonderful spread, especially for a small flashlight like this. Going from 5 lumens to 110 to 600 is great. I, again, like something greater than, I would say, typically 5 lumens or greater on that low mode. So for me, the low mode is very usable, excellent for your typical up close and sort of general tasks. You know, things like looking underneath your couch or under your car seats, trying to find things, trying to illuminate your front door at the end of the day to get your keys in. Maybe it's a winter day and it's late and you're coming home at night and you just can't see. Well, this to me would be an excellent option, especially if you have it mounted on your keys. And then getting into that 110 medium lumen output, that is very good for all sorts of tasks. Walking down paths, going through slightly sketchy areas, trying to illuminate things just a little bit more to get some detail. And 600 lumens is very nice, decent in terms of the ability to throw and really start to illuminate a decent distance off. So now that you've seen these Sofirn lights, when I first got my hands on these, I thought they reminded me of something I'd already seen before. And in that regard, here I have the Thorfire VG10S and the Thorfire TG06S. Now, I'm not saying that these flashlights are exactly the same, but it's quite obvious that these two companies have probably gone to the same school. These 18650 flashlights are both in the exact same class where they have extremely similar features, similar lumen outputs, overall generally same design, things that are extremely close when you really look at the details. And for me, something that I guess you could really go either way. Now, both of these have, I'd say, comparable features, so really in that regard, you can't go wrong with either one of them. And that's the same when you look at these 14500 capable flashlights. Both of these are basically, I'd say, pretty much the same. Again, slight difference in the overall build quality, but when you really look at the fit and finish, the overall features, general price point and capabilities, two flashlights that are really good options, and either way you go, you really can't go wrong. Now, when you look at the lenses of the two 18650 flashlights, you'll notice that they are both smooth, meaning that they'd both be pretty good in the overall throw category. But when you look at the 14500 flashlights, the Thorfire is a smooth lens, while that Sofirn light has the orange peel. So, in that regard, you could kind of make the determination whether or not you wanted something that would be a little better in throw or something that's slightly floodier. Now, I'm sure that these aren't the only two flashlight companies that have similarities. I know there's plenty of others out there, but I just thought this was something worth noting and something worth showing you. So here we are now that it's nighttime, taking a look at the SF36. So you'll see here, this is the 8 lumen mode. It is a little bit noisy here with the bug life, but actually a pretty cool spot here. So giving you the opportunity to kind of see the lumen output. Again, this is the low mode. Actually, it's considered to be low at 8 lumen output. And then just a little half press here. And this is the 50 lumen mode. So at this point, you'll see that it is really starting to illuminate this tree. And then actually, as I kind of pan around here, just giving you just an example, I am starting to be able to illuminate off into the distance. So this lens, being kind of a thrower, is really doing a good job even with simply a 50 lumen output. Another little half press, and you're starting to see the hot spot in this light. This is the 300 lumen output, and I'm even able to illuminate nicely well off into the distance. And another half press, that is the 1070 lumen output. Very nice throw, and you can see here even well off into the distance, I'm able to illuminate the trees very far away. That's probably, I'd say, at least 300 feet, so a good distance off and a good overall throw. Definitely some kind of wildlife out here. And even here, let's see if I can get this into focus for you. As I illuminate well off into the distance, I mean, you'll see way out there. That is a 110-foot tall water tower way out there. Let me see if I can even zoom in on that. And you'll see at this point, I am able to illuminate all the way up it. I mean, that is pretty significant. So that 1070 lumen output definitely giving you a good overall beam of light way up onto that water tower. Now with the SF14, the low mode is only 5 lumens, so I cannot throw very far. And again, it is a much smaller lens,
So this is pretty good for general use up close, illuminating a small area close to you. You know, for example, general camp tasks, or if you were looking for something, call it like, you know, under a couch or sofa, or little things where you're trying to find something that you may have dropped, or even illuminating your doorway trying to get in at night. This is certainly suitable. Little half press. This is the 110 lumen output. Now at this point, you'll see adjusting up here, I am able to start to illuminate these trees. Then off into the distance, not quite so much. The camera's barely picking it up, but you'll see I am starting to illuminate a little bit further out. Then another half press, that is the 600 lumen output. And at this point, that is pretty impressive, where for a very small, call it almost keychain style flashlight, I am able to illuminate pretty far out and even to that tree line about 300 feet away. Fairly certain I'm hearing some sort of wildlife. I don't know if it's coyotes or fox or something out there, but man, what a wild place. Again, back to that SF36, that full 1070 lumens, illuminating right out to that tree line, no problem at all.
So alright guys, there you have it. A quick look at two nice lights from the company Sofirn, the SF36 and SF14. So again, I'd like to say thank you very much to the people at Sofirn for sending these for review. Now, as I mentioned, there are a ton of companies out there that make similar lights. It's just up to you to determine what you're looking for in overall features. I can say that I do highly recommend these, especially after having carried them for a while. The only single downfall that I can see, actually two. First is there is no momentary press on either one of these, a function that I've come to very much like. And the other is no real effective way to reverse the clip. Now, it's not a game changer for me. Neither one of those features really kind of bothers me to the point where I wouldn't recommend them. I just think that in future iterations, it is certainly something to consider when they're making manufacturing changes or potentially coming out with a future version. Now, just one last thing worth noting, and I don't think it's really applicable. This is not USB rechargeable. Now, obviously, that feature would add considerable money to how much this would cost, and it's not a game changer for me. The reality is these flashlights do last a good long time, especially if you're smart with your overall battery management and really being careful in selecting efficient modes. You don't always need to be blasting that full 1070 lumens. If you're smart and you really think about it, most of the time you can get away with one of the lower lumen outputs. In this case, certainly the 8 and even the 50, that is more than enough light to do a lot of different tasks. So if you're smart and you pay attention to it, the battery on these will last a good long time between charging. But as I mentioned, two good quality flashlights with good capabilities. Overall, general nice spread in the lumen outputs, nice build quality, and as mentioned before, something that I can say I definitely recommend. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.